In the past, we would with our other software programs, I would be able to see who went up, who went backwards, downloading an Excel spreadsheet. But I would not have a concept of the actual percentage without calculating it myself. Go back and count, okay, this class we had this many, this class we have this many. And I think the key piece is, this is done for me. If I want to know who the students are, I just click on the color.
One of the things too, we call this opportunity loss. That's opportunity loss from year to year. Just think if all these kids would remain proficient, all these spaces here would remain proficient, the teacher would be able to hang on to it. Now, we all know there's factors involved in this, just like we share with you about the attendance data, behavior data, what's going on at home. We know there's factors as well that we have to consider, but just an opportunity to look at and have that strong conversation about it.
Quick announcement. If you drive a black Ford F-150, Warren County tag, you're about to be told.
Well, I parked where it told me to.
When I saw black F-150, I thought they were mine.
Our teacher attendance, we're able to look at our teachers by days and by categories, whether it's professional development, whether it's personal leave, whether it's sick, whatever the case may be. We're able to look at our teacher attendance. As you can see here, just at a glance, you can say that we have a Tuesday and Wednesday issue with teachers coming to work. Although many of them listed that snapshot that week, this teacher here has missed 2 Wednesdays. Devin has missed 2 Wednesdays, 2 Thursdays here, 2 Fridays here, 2 Fridays there. That's how we're able to have a courageous conversation to be able to share that view with them and say, hey, have you looked at this? Have you thought about this? You know, so, you know, it's very important. I can recall when I was a principal, I had to do the spreadsheet and the graph and count and all of that. I had my secretary to count how many days. And I would tell my teachers, I said, we teach on Friday and Monday. You know, that's what I had to say. I would say, hey, we teach on Fridays and Mondays. So we're glad to have you. We teach on Fridays and Mondays. So we got to that point.
Also, a good reflective piece for a principal is, one thing that I have learned, you have to work with folks. Before we had a time change to middle school hours, our teachers reported at 7:55. Buses picked them up at 4 o'clock, just the way the transportation cycle. So it's very difficult to get a doctor's appointment without taking a complete day off. So you have to kind of look at that. Okay, would you rather for a teacher to take off a day or work with your folks? Because I find a lot of cases now, they're going to take that day. Or you can at least have them there, work with your people, and cover down for them. And the data just really shows how powerful that piece is.
So we have a 3-tier bus system, and now the middle school is on the first route. Our high school is on the last route. The research shares that older children need to stay in bed longer. So we allow them that. We have an 8:30 start with our high school, and the data is still out whether it's working for us. So also we're able to look at attendance by weeks, by days. This is attendance grid by grade. As you can see, our colors mean the same. Red is caution, red is an issue. Orange is caution, blue is on target, and green is on target, and blue is exceeding the goal. We have a 95% attendance goal in our district for all of our schools for every day. And as you can see, our high school is always the one that's struggling to meet that goal. But this is by week here. This is a snapshot we took in February of last year, so it gives you some idea about how the attendance piece looks.
So when you look at changing your master calendar, in the Pine Belt area, for example, some schools take fall break, some schools don't. Some schools take the Mardi Gras break, some schools don't. And a lot of times, the kids and parents will take a break whether or not you have a break or not, and come in and say, well, I thought. And so that's a good driver piece to be reflective and actually look at and examine what that week looked like historically.
We can select it down by students. This is a selected student here that has a 10.5 attendance rate. And then we can look at the student and see that the student has been enrolled for 19 days and only been present 2. Also, as we mentioned before, from various screens, you can go to the historical view. You can click right there and see the historical right there about what this kid has done over time. And this is an example of looking at the historical data. Once you click the historical, you will see all the historical data on that student based on attendance.
And as a principal, the first thing you look for, how's my school doing compared to everyone else? Because a lot of times we're quick to say what we think, and sometimes what we think may not actually be the truth. So we're able to look at it from and even as the grades move throughout the year, is there a trend with attendance? I remember Mr. Backus showed some historical data of the students who went through the MCT 1 to MCT 2 change. Those students never recovered throughout their, I think it was the 3rd, 4th grade class.
Right.
They never recovered when you compared their historical data to the classes after them. They never recovered.
Yeah, they graduated in 2012, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. Here you can see that this student attended 2 elementary schools, Woodley Elementary and Hawkins Elementary. And as I said, we only have 1 high school and 1 middle school, so there's no mobility when it gets there. But this student had the mobility where he or she attended 2 elementary schools. Another thing that we track, you know, there's research around student engagement. John Haddock talks about it. This is a meta-analysis, and he talks about student engagement is a 3.36 involving in students being engaged in school. So we track that. We track what our students are engaged in, what percentage of it. And one of the things that we track mainly is trying to make sure our boys are engaged. See, our boys are 6% less than our girls engaged in the school. We have 1,258 out of the 4,600 students we have. So we have a little over 25% of our students engaged, but that's something we continue to work on. And we continue to seek opportunities for our students to be engaged, and that's a very piece to track because it's certainly related to achievement. I don't know if you all ever read any research around that, but anytime students are engaged in extracurricular activities and things of that nature, their achievements, for the most part, tend to reflect that.
Also, the new college and career readiness training, attended that yesterday. The rubric, it even speaks to the percentage of students in your school or in your district that are actually engaged in activities outside of the curricular program. And so this is a great piece to track it. Also, I was thinking about our high school principal. He kind of uses this to look at his Title IX, making sure that he's providing equal opportunity as it relates to Title IX. We didn't have any other dashboard or any other way to pull that information. It was an afterthought.
So
it looks like.
Most people would think that they would have, with athletics, we have about 17 or 18 athletic programs. You would think that the boys were more engaged with all the athletic programs we have, but our girls are still more engaged. So that's something that we're working on and trying to make sure that we connect our boys to school, because that's where the success rate comes from. So to build interventions, each one of those dots represents a student. Each one of those dots, clusters of dots, represent students. And to build an intervention and to look at what we need for each individual student, all we have to do is touch it. Also, we can change the subgroups: economic disadvantage, gender, SPED, DLL, homeless, whatever the subgroups are. We can sort it by that just by touching the scale and setting the scale. If you were looking for a range, if you want to know how many students in Algebra 1 that is at a 50 or 60% range, you can set your scale from that and it'll print that out for you just for those students with names. You can pull a list and you have that right there at your fingertips. So it's a very user-friendly tool, and we've been very pleased with. Matter of fact, our vendor just a phone call away. Many times I'm thinking of something and I'll text and say, what about this? It makes sense. I'll have it for you tomorrow or this afternoon. Because we're always thinking about ways how we can look at our students. Because I know we do math. And I texted him today, I said, what about the student growth projection? He said, I'm working on it. So that's the kind of response that we can get, and based on us thinking about how we can look at our students and be able to monitor the success of our students. Any questions? I meant to tell you all, this is very interactive. You got some questions, just raise your hand and we'll ask them as we go through. But we don't want to bore you. Yes. Question?
Right here.
I have one.
Okay, yeah, go right ahead.
I had a question about the data being uploaded when you work with your vendor. How did they upload the data? What was their process like? And then what is the cost of this per student?
Well, we're gonna get to the cost at the end, but the upload piece, we work with all of our vendors, like we pay Sam 7, we pay Renaissance, we pay Scholastic, we pay NWA. So we say, hey, this is our data warehouse, well, we need you to let them have the data. So that's no problem. You know, it's a process, you know. And it updates, as soon as we get a new piece, it updates. We just took our second assessment with math, our second assessment with STAR and all the Renaissance products. So we have all that up. Good question. Any other questions? So the next piece is teacher observations. We require at least 8 drop-ins or observations per week by administrator. So if you're going to require something, you have to have a way of monitoring it. So if you don't monitor it, have a way of monitoring it, it may or may not happen. But we do know, and the research points to it, the more you observe instruction, the better instruction can get. You know, that's the key piece. And the key piece is teachers teaching and they're also monitoring the success of their children. So we're able to look at that. This is the middle school view. That's 408 informal observations. That's 408. And then you will see that list to the side. That's by administrators. And then this would kind of give you the completion rate. These were done mobile completion. This was final completion. This 5 in progress and 1 in development of the 408 and 380 so finished. So when you put the mobile completion, that's one step, and the final step will go in here, but the teacher's gotten the feedback that they need. The main thing is we want the teacher to get the feedback. Once it gets here, the teacher gets the feedback, and it moves forward. So that's one of the things you can look at too. You can go in the classroom, but if the teacher doesn't get the feedback, what good is that? And then if the feedback comes 2 weeks later, they don't forget, you know, so what good is that? So it's real-time feedback, and I'll let the end user talk to that piece as well.
Now, the one piece that I do like about the informal observations, I need to get mine in for this week. But,
Oh, wow.
you know, a lot of times, especially as a principal, it seems like you're out of the building more during the time of the year where you really need to be in there. So I just shared with my team, we're busy, but busy doing what? We need to be in those classrooms. Also, we have some observers outside of our building in which we're actually able to, I'm able to also capture and look at that also. With 67 teachers, we're able to track that as far as being ethical.
This is how it looks, the observation rating, based on observers. This is how the observation rating comes out. These are the indicators here. These are the teachers here.